Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. This is your boy Exia as we get rolling here in round 5 at Silverstone. It is truly amazing to see you guys and get everything going as we get started here after the break week at Silverstone. The track is optimum. The cars are racy. We are looking good, and it is truly an honor to be here as we are riding along for Casey Bennett, who's now going to be the front runner. He's going to be leading out the group here. He just passed Chrysler York, and there's Taylor Farmer in that Honda right behind him. His qualifying is now starting with 20 minutes to go, and they are working their way through here, ladies and gentlemen. So this one is definitely going to be an interesting one to see how the GT Meister field works their way through the grid as we see Carmen 88 Fernandez, Bonita Guerrero, Torcedilla para Wilson Fernandez. Hey! Well, I don't know Spanish very well. I probably botched all of that. No, wait, you're from Brazil. That would be Portuguese if I'm correct. But hey, welcome, welcome, welcome. Truly an honor to have you here and racing with us. So we'll definitely get a shout out for you here around the grid. We'll have to keep an eye on where you are going to be. Right now, you are on the grid, number 88. You are coming through the backs through up to sector 3 here, so this is going to be an interesting one. Looks like Casey Bennett is going to let Farmer by. Let's jump over to Wilson Fernandez, give him a huge shout out in his BMW right now as he's racing his way through the series. Here, let's just move down now because Farmer is going to be leading us on a provisional hot lap here for the pole position. So let's take a look at the NSX as he's about to cross the front start straight here, working his way up to turn 1, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see what he can do through turn 1. Nice and tight, utilizing all that curb, going all the way out. Hopefully he did not invalidate that lap, but does not look like it because he is still flying here. Let's see what he can do through Maggots and Beckett's. Ooh, that was a big cut there for gained 3 tenths through there on his original provisional time as he works his way around. He's got Casey Bennett still hugging into him as they work their way through the grid. And look, we got Aiden Hasbrock a little bit further back there following them as well. Chrysler York still there. Wilson Fernandez, he's there. Number 86 is also there. Kevin Tarrant's in that Lexus working his way through. Down into the wonderful chicane. Here we go. The Honda hugging it super tight of Farmer's car. Curious on what his provisional pole was. He was doing 158s in free practice prior to the start of qualifying, so that'll be definitely an interesting one to see where he comes in through a fast right-hander. Nice and snug as he works his way through here. We have a yellow sector. That's 82 there. That's going to be Cooper Simmons, if I'm correct. Going through Maggots and Beckett's letting number 29 by, which is Andrew Cooper in the Honda. Let's take a look. Here comes Farmer down this little straight chute before he gets up to turn the last 2-3 turns here. Nice and tight cutting most of that corner there, the apex, just to get that nice run into this final hairpin before they make their way onto the straight. Casey Bennett still all over the back end of Farmer. See what their times are when they come around. Farmer getting a big, nice run there, and it's going to be a 58.7. Where's Casey Bennett going to sit? Aiden Hasbrock, .007 off the pace of Farmer in that McLaren. Does not look like Aiden Hasbrock set a time. Does not look like Wilson Fernandez set a time. So we're going to see what happens. Ricky Scott now 1.550 off the pace there in this lap here. Let's take a second. Chrysler York coming through Maggots Beckett's. He has yet to set a lap time here as we go. Let's see who's on a flyer. Matt Artim, 6/10 up in the Audi. He's coming up to the final couple corners. Tim Wilkins, 3.730 off the pace. McNeil, 2.517 off the pace as they work their way through the grid. See as we go through. What can Artim do? It looks strong. 8/10 up on his time. Looking super racy. Bam, P5. 5/10 off the pace. Are doing 1/10. PO, .097. It's a Honda, McLaren, Aston Ferrari, and Audi Tuda. Bringing himself into P5. This is really developing. C. Simmons, 5.5 seconds off the pace of our fastest driver, but he can always develop. So let's take a look. Let's see who we have. Wilson Fernandez, the P3 driver in the standings in the BMW. He is up 1.3 seconds up on his time. He did a 2-minute 2-minute.635 in his last lap. So if he's up 1.8, looking to gain possibly 2 seconds, this will slot him in that top 5, maybe top 10 position with everything, as we see Andre Afonso now slots himself into P7, the 999 car, 8/10 off the pace. As we see Wilson Fernandez working his way through the grid. We're going to take a look who else is a big mover as they work their way through the grid. The next big mover other than Wilson is going to be Casey Bennett, but it looks like he lost it. He slotted himself up to P7. Wilson getting an amazing tow out of York, and across the line, Wilson slots himself P2.010 off the pace of Farmer. Now we're going to see Renato Raku, the Lamborghini driver, catches a little bit more curb than what he wants, but he's still up 1.5 seconds on his lap time, which will probably bring him into the 2-minute 3 seconds. I apologize saying 30. 2-minute 3 second area, so that's going to probably jump him up to Eric Howell in that P16 slot there, or James Park that's in P17. Tim Wilkins, the AMG driver, slots himself P14 as they work their way through. Who's another big mover as we go? Eric Howell's up 6/10. We're going to jump over to him as we wait for Renato to pass the line. As we see this, jumps across the line. He's going to jump to P15. Now we're going to jump over to the co-founder of GTMR, Eric Howell, the number 19 driver in that BMW, as he's working his way through Sector 3 of this lap in Silverstone, working his way around here. We're going to keep an eye to see if there's any other big movers. Stefan Buckley, the driver who's sitting 12th in the Audi, he is up 1 second off his time. This is going to leapfrog him into that top 10. So we're going to jump over to Stefan Buckley real quick after we see Eric Howell cross the line and see what he can do with this Red Bull Drift Brothers paint-schemed BMW. This is going to be an interesting one. Looks like Stefan Buckley lost the time that he needed to. But, he already completed his lap, so he's going to jump up there, and he's 0.038 off the pace of York in P11. What an amazing performance. As we see Eric Howell slots himself P16. What other big drivers do we have? Big movers we got going here. Aiden Hasbrock up 8/10. He's not going to let Arduin get away from him, and he slots him in. He brings him in 0.125 off the pace. Pio, 3/10 off the pace as he's working his way through. The McLarens are looking fast. They're going to try to push the test and see what they can do. Now, this 3/10 of Pio will bring him into about 7/10 off the pace of Arduin in that Aston Martin. The race victory out of Arduin is definitely giving him the experience and the push and the drive that he wants to be successful here at GT Meister Racing, and it's truly amazing to see him definitely showcase his ability as he comes through. Now we're going to pause. We're going to jump down to Cooper Simmons here in a second, because Cooper Simmons is looking pretty racy as he's about to improve. But we're going to follow along. Where is Pio when he comes across the track? Cooper Simmons has already crossed the line. He has improved. He's going to slot himself 22nd, but he's still up on his time. Kevin Torrance is improving. Here comes Pio. What can he do? He gets his 3/10 that he needs. Now it's going to close him in. Now he needs to find 5/10 just to catch up to Fernandez, as the two Brazilian drivers are trying to go toe-to-toe with everybody to gain as much time as they possibly can. Let's take a look. Chrysler York, 8/10 now. Nice and tidy. The McLarens showing their strong pace and their strong performance, but there's a few oddballs here in this league that have been able to keep themselves up at the top here as they work their way around. So we have a yellow sector. That's going to be number 14. 14. Who are you supposed to be? That's going to be Pio. He is off the track. He's jumped back into the pits. 73 jumped back into the pits. That's Arduin in the back there, swerving, getting his tires warmed up. See what we got going on here as York works his way through 8/10 up on his time. We got Cooper Simmons. He's still up 6/10. We're going to probably jump along board with him in a second. Nope, now he lost it. Something must have happened with the 91 driver. Looks like he lost it in the right as York slots himself P10 reeling in Andre Afonso. What an amazing battle we have up in that top front 5 right there as these drivers are working their way through. Let's take a look. Who else is on a fast mover? John Bowling in the liquid metal Aston Martin. Liquid Death, I apologize. Aston Martin. If you guys haven't tried Liquid Death, take a huge shout out and try Liquid Death. Truly an amazing bottled aluminum water. They also have an amazing hashtag Death to Plastic where they donate 10% of their profits for every can sold to help plastic pollution. Definitely try them out. They're amazing, guys. All right, let's get back to it as we see John Bowling. Looks like he lost a little bit of time. Can he make it? I think he's pushing his car a little too hard here as he goes through the grid. Kevin Tarrant's up 8/10. We're going to jump over to Kevin Tarrant with the fact that Bowling is completely off the pace right now due to a few corners. Let's go see Kevin Tarrant in the Lexus. He is looking super racy. 1 second now as he's coming through. So he's going to have this little short shoot here, and he's going to work his way up to the final 3 corners here. 7/10 is going to slide him into that top 20 spot around Andrew Cooper and Onistio. So that's definitely going to be an interesting one to say the least as they work their way through. Let's see what they can do here as he comes around the bend here in the Lexus. Can he improve his time? Nice and tight. Probably could have cut a little bit more to gain some time. He crosses it, slots himself up to P20. We called it there, ladies and gentlemen. So let's see. Azraf Azmi in the Porsche. The driver from Malaysia definitely looking super strong as he goes through Maggots and Beckett's. He's going to have Brian Douglas has made it, ladies and gentlemen. He has been able to make it here with the traffic of the LA area. So that's truly awesome to see him here racing in the Blue Blur Racing McLaren as they get going through here. And we're going to also give a few shout outs here in this qualifying session to some of the drivers that are new here. William Ballard, welcome to the league. Truly an honor to have you here. I hope this race goes very well with you in the BMW. I believe he is a controller driver. So it's truly an honor to see you and have you here as we get going. So let's take a look. If there's a driver that you'd like to see in the chat, please give us a huge shout out for them in the chat, and then we will get over there and we will talk to them as we can get them on the screen for you as soon as we can. And it's Azraf. He's up 7/10 on his time. 7/10 will slot him right around the Ballard and C. Simmons area. Oh, as we getting a little bit glitchy there, but that's fine. See what he can do here. Now he's up a whole second on his lap. So let's see what happens. See, Brian Douglas is still looking strong. He's going to be getting close to to doing a fast lap here in the closing minutes of this race. See, we got Mathis Tuda is up 3/10. Azraf going super wide there. Does he improve when he's about to cross the line? Let's see what he can do. And he crosses. It's going to slot him up to P25 ahead of James Park. Now, Mathis Tuda, the Ferrari driver that had a few issues at Indianapolis last week, but managed to recover. He's still up 1/10. Can he gain that extra time that he was looking for in the final corner before he crosses the line? Anything to catch Casey Bennett in that Ferrari, in that Porsche. See what he can do. Oh, brings it into 0.002 of a second. Then here we have Matt Artem. He's up 4/10. Huge shout out to him in that Audi. He is looking super strong so far. Now let's take a roll down the grid here and take a look at some other people. Cooper Simmons, a driver we were talking about, that is up 5/10 on his time. He is definitely new to this season, and he's been looking super racy and strong so far. Huge shout out to him as he's coming through. 4/10 for him will get him to jump Ballard in that BMW, which was going to be super strong right there. And then definitely have to keep an eye on how he sets his pace and performance for the race. Let's take a look. Now he's found 5/10. 5/10 is looking strong. 5/10 would probably put him right next to Tim Wilkins. He crosses the line, and he jumps Tim Wilkins by .055. Huge shout out to Cooper Simmons. Let's take a look at as we have Liam McNeil in the BMW, a driver who races with us a little bit on and off due to work. Huge shout out to him. Definitely one of the a very high class driver here at GTMR, just like all the other drivers. He's up 4/10 on his lap as he comes through. The P14 driver looking super strong. That 4/10, if he's able to hold it, will be able to separate himself from P15 Roku and give him a little bit of breathing room, but also bring him a little bit closer to Stefan Buckley, as there is around a 1 second gap between him and P13. So it'd be definitely good for him to be able to have that jump in the series here as we roll through. Ooh, and he brings it in 3 seconds. So now he's only less than about 4/10 off the pace of Stefan Buckley. But this is definitely a good one. Let's take a look. Who is our big movers today? We have Eric Howell. He's up 5/10. He's gonna have Farmer in front of him. Definitely going to get a big tow from Farmer, hopefully, with that Honda straight line speed. So if Blitz can make it work, he can definitely reel in Farmer, because Farmer is sitting up into that I believe it is P4 spot in that Honda. He is sitting right there. So definitely have to keep an eye on that. He's 3/10 off the pace right now as he works his way through. Brian Douglas slots himself P21 right now in the overall lap. Still 3/10 off of his time. So definitely our big movers right now are P19 and P21, Eric Howell and Brian Douglas. Let's see what Eric Howell can do. Can he utilize Farmer to get that draft, to get that pull that he needs to succeed here in Silverstone when they work their way through? Farmer's trying to warm up his tires in front of him. Howell's trying to just get a little bit of a pull draft to help him up. He is up 6/10. Down into the corner they go. Trying to sit nice and tight. Tykesman says, love Howell. Yes, Tykesman, love Howell. Welcome, Tykes. Welcome, welcome. Definitely an honor to hear from you. Haven't heard from you in so long, my good friend. Definitely miss having you race here. Definitely would love to see you in the comms booth with me as Eric Howell slots himself up to P18. Now we're going to switch over to Brian Douglas. He crosses the line. P14 leapfrogs, puts in himself ahead of McNeil by 1/10 of a second. That's definitely going to be amazing for him as a driver coming in late into qualifying. Let's take a look at Andrew Cooper in that Honda. He's up 3/10 in the camo Honda here as he's working his way through the grid, through the track as he works his way through across the Formula One front straight. Can't talk today. So 3/10 would put him ahead of. Ooh, and he overshoots it. Oh, the 3/10 would have slotted himself in front of P16. That big move would have helped him out so much. But right now, we're going to jump back up aboard Liam McNeil. He is 1/10 up on his time, but he's still gaining it as he's going. He's losing it and gaining it as he works his way through. But Brian Douglas is up 3/10. He's looking through. Ooh, commentator Curtis McNeil loses the back end of it. Now we're going to switch over to Brian Douglas as Brian Douglas works his way through the fast right here. He's going to have Tuda in front of him in the Ferrari. Ooh, Brian Douglas lost it all in that corner with the back end stepping out. As we're going to ride along board Alex Arduin, our provisional pole leader. He is up 1/10 as he's coming through the fast right. As he works his way through down this little short chute here before he hits the chicane and the Formula One front straight. He's up 1/10. Will he reset pole at Silverstone here with Aiden Hasbrock right behind him, Wilson Fernandez, and Tyler Farmer in that Honda? Tykesman says, everybody loves that bald guy. Everybody loves that bald guy. We're happy to see him back into this season. Tykesman, it would be awesome to see you back and with us into it. Even as a co-commentator, it would be an amazing to see you back. But let's see what can Arduin do here in the series. He's still up 1/10. So this would set him up to separate the gap and give him pole position. Hopefully the commentator curse does not affect him as he comes through onto this little straightaway, working his way down into the final couple corners. Looks like he lost his time, but can he gain it in this braking zone as he works his way through? He does. He gains about a tenth. Does he lose it through this hairpin? Does not look like he loses it. He got more time. Ooh, he lost a little with the wiggle. Onto the front straight. Does he improve? He does, just by a little bit. Now let's take a look who else is racing at a setting a time. Andrew Cooper does not look like. Matt Artem is 4/10 off the pace. He is not improving. Number 12. Where is number 12 on the track? Louis. Louis does not look like he is improving on his time. He's pulling into the pits. Matt Artem does not look like he is improving on his time. He's going to probably set the same lap time unless magically he can find a tenth into this final braking zone. If he finds it in this braking zone, he could. Oh, the power slide of the Audi going into the corner. He lost a tenth here. Can he regain it out of this corner? Looking super planted, going super wide. Not a whole lot of tail wag like in the Asset, and he is done for the qualifying session. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Alex Arduin bringing home the gold in first place here for the provisional pole before the head of the race. So huge shout out to all the drivers as we wait for it to click over to the race session. So I want to give a huge shout out to everybody here at GT Meister Racing. It is truly an honor to have all of you guys here with us as we get started. And here they are on the grid. We're going to take a run through the grid order as we get going here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's let's jump out of the car and drive around here. And hey, we're gonna pick up the speed a little bit. Let's pick up the speed. Hey, there we go. There we have. We're gonna run down the grid order, everybody, and see all these drivers, these fantastic people that decided to come out here and to support the league. It's a huge shout out as we work our way down the grid. Definitely a huge variety of cars that we have here at GTMR. Doesn't look like, looks like someone possibly lost a connection here because there's a spot open. Hopefully we didn't lose a driver here as we go through, as we see James Park in the back working his way up on his pace and performance. This is definitely going to be an interesting one to say the least, and see how everybody performs here. That looks to be Andrew Cooper's car of the NSX. Is that what we're possibly missing here? Looks like he possibly lost connection. But there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Alex Arduin putting the car on pole with Aiden Hasbrock, followed by Wilson Fernandez, followed by Taylor Farmer, followed by Bruno Pio, followed by Mathis Tuda, followed by Casey Bennett, followed by Matt Artem, followed by Andre Afonso, followed by Chrysler Yor, followed by Ricky Scott, followed by Louis. Louis bringing it into P12. I must have missed him throughout the whole entire qualifying session. Then we got Stefan Buckley, Brian Douglas. Then we have McNeil, Roku, John Bowling, Dan Onisto, Eric Howell. Looks like we were going to have Andrew Cooper here, but we lost him, and then that's going to slot Kimball up there. And then we have Kevin Tarrant, Cooper Simmons, Tim Wilkins. Then we got Asme, and then we have the BMW driver of Ballard and James Parks. Huge shout out to all of you guys here that are participating. I think that's the fastest I've ever gone through the whole entire grid. Um, but what amazing! If you, for the viewers in the chat, if there's a driver that you would like to see, definitely give me a shout out. And we'll definitely take a look at everybody. Tykes, how is the FIFA career? For those that don't know, that is within the GTMR group. Tykes, man, who is a chat moderator, definitely rocks it out on the FIFA F1 2023. I believe he is part of a FIFA league. So huge shout out to him in that group. We like to support a lot of our drivers that participate in other series and other games. So huge shout out to Tykes, man. in this series as we're waiting around. We got 5 seconds before the cars get dropped off and they get going. We can definitely see, oh, the temperature is kicking up. We're at 31 degrees Celsius. It is midday, 12 p.m., and it is only going to get hotter, hopefully, because that's just going to spice everything up. Alex Arduin looking super strong here at Silverstone. Now, let's take a look at the championship standings. I'm going to pull them up here on my side just to see what it is and what we got going on here, everybody. Wait for it to load up real quick. Let's take a look and see what we've got here. As the cars work their way around, we have Tyler Farmer. He's sitting there with 81 points with Wilson Fernandez with 71. Alex Arduin is 61. He won the last race, finished second in round 3 and third in round 2. So he's only improving and getting stronger. Wilson Fernandez had a little bit of an issue with an incident at Indianapolis, which cost him a lot of points, but he can bounce back here at Silverstone. Casey Bennett, a proven driver, number 918. He's sitting there with 42 points with Andrew Jaschke, which is sadly missing. He's going to have 40 points. So Andrew Jaschke's going to get the big hit here in this race because he can't make it. But it's definitely going to be a big mover. Bruno Pio, who has moved up in the grid, he is sitting there in P9 in the overall championship series. And in this race, Bruno Pio is sitting P5. So if he can keep this going, he can definitely slot his way up into the grid, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll definitely have to keep an eye on how all these drivers perform. Some of these drivers, have fallen down the grid based on, points or standings, but it's definitely going to be an interesting one to see where everybody brings themselves in here. So we'll definitely have to keep an eye on that for all these other drivers as they get going here. So it's definitely going to be an interesting one to say the least. So here we go through everybody looking super strong. Aiden Hasbrock in that silk cut. He wants to showcase his performance in that McLaren. He's had a couple bad races. He knows he can redevelop, regain his composure, rework his way up as we get going. Let's see. Tigesman says FIFA is a slog this year. There is 100 levels instead of 25. 100 levels, interesting. Very, very interesting. I only liked FIFA playing it as the single player, but the only thing I didn't like was this fact that you got loaned off really fast, and then you were kind of just it just got really boring in the sense because sometimes it either only lets you play as your character and you couldn't play as the whole team to make sure that you got the ball. But here we go through, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a look at a driver shout out here in this race. Where is this gentleman? He is Eric Howell, sliding himself P19, ladies and gentlemen. Tyke's most favorite friend you're going to hear about in the chat here as we get going through. Also, huge shout out to Carmen Fernandez, aka Wilson Fernandez, for the follow. Thank you very much. As we get going, Josh Kimball in the back with that ARC Mods Mercedes-Benz with Tim Wilkins. Tim Wilkins is trying to get those brakes warm here as they work their way down into the grid order. Here they go. Drivers are going to line themselves up as they work their way around here. We're going to jump up with the leaders of Alex Arduin, and we're going to get going this race. And here we go, Alex Arduin working his way onto the main straight with the grid lining up as we get started at the Silverstone Grand Prix for GTMR. As they cross the line, green lights possibly? Green, and we are away to go. Alex Arduin caught sleeping a little bit at the start. Aiden Hasbrock going to work his way around the Aston Martin as they work their way down into Maggotts Beckett's Farmer trying to make his move on Wilson down on the inside. Let's see what happens. Casey Bennett's going to cover the inside. Mathis Tuda's going to cover Pio on the back end. Side by side they go. Both drivers trying to give each other adequate amount of space, but you're going to check up, and that's going to allow Wilson up ahead of him to get the attack on Arduin as they work their way onto the back straight, working their way through number 64, sitting possibly in the pits. He could not get the start of the race here as all the drivers are starting to file through as they begin the race here down into the fast right-hander as they work through. Aiden Hasbrock trying to pull a big enough lead. Arduin is trying to cover everything behind him as they go through. As we started in the pits, looked like he possibly had a few issues here with connection. What a shame there for him as they work their way through the grid. Here, Arduin now separating himself from Wilson Fernandez with Farmer now on the back end of him as they come up across the F1 front main straight here with this battle developing and getting even stronger. Now we're going to work our way through the grid here with Louis all over the back end of Stefan Buckley in that Audi. Louis goes super wide, catches the dirt, but he manages to recover. Andre Afonso, the P13 driver, trying to work his way through. Looks like he possibly had a little bit of an issue. The 24 of, I believe that's going to be Eric Howell, lost it. He's in the back of the grid as they go through. McNeil working his way through, definitely having a beautiful start as he's up to P13, working his way through the grid here as everybody is now freight training beautifully. Afonso trying to switch back and make something happen as they go through here. As we see Jay Bowling going to try to make something happen in the back end of McNeil here as he's looking in the Liquid Death car, trying to figure out how to make it stick here as now you start to see the front pack of the group start to separate themselves as they go through Silverstone and make their way across the front straight. Everybody looking nice and clean as we go through. We're going to drop down the order to Josh Kimball. As Josh Kimball works his way through, he's going to look at Roku. It's Tim Wilkins setting the moves on the inside of Ballard, trying to make it stick, but Ballard's going to cover the inside. He's going to close the door a little bit on Tim Wilkins and make him work. Tim has to catch the brakes. Now here comes Onisto in the McLaren on Tim Wilkins, trying to make it. Ooh, Onisto definitely looking on the inside. Looks like we had a car off on the track here. Hopefully he doesn't rejoin with everybody else on the track. That is going to be, looks like Wilson Fernandez. Oh, that's going to be a questionable one in the stewards reports with Wilson Fernandez. So we see Cooper Simmons. So we're going to jump back up in front as Farmer's now P2. So that's definitely going to be something that we're going to have to take a look at it. Sadly, we missed what happened there as the drivers roll their way through as we see Mathis Tuda now up to P4 and are doing in P3 as they work their way through the grid. Howell losing it. I should have put a bet on that one. Yes, you should have. As we go through, let's take a look at what Mathis Tuda can do as we have Matt Artem in the front ahead of Casey Bennett. Casey Bennett putting in the time today at Silverstone, trying to make something happen. Casey Bennett definitely wanting to make something stick with Matt Artem, but Matt Artem in that Audi has been able to keep his car super wide. Aiden Hasbrock keeping the gap from Tyler Farmer to 1.9 seconds. That is truly something to be questioned here, but we're going to jump back down to Wilson Fernandez and take a look and see as this battle develops. How fast is he going to? Looks like he's got damage on the rear and the side of his car and the front end of cars, because now I think he hit a wall, maybe lost the back end of it. That's definitely going to be an interesting one as we see possibly, did a driver just dive into the pits? No, did not see a driver drive in the pits. So Wilson Fernandez is going to try to hold in there in that BMW. Car looks super loose when he's going through this bend here. That's definitely going to be an interesting one to say the least, as he's definitely all over the back end of Tim Wilkins in that Mercedes. He's catching his brakes. Tim is going to have to try to work a little bit harder today as we see Josh Kimball. Oh, I had to scrunch. I had a whoo. I'm okay. You know when you're a commentator and you love everybody in your league, but then you watch them break super late and you think they're going to rear end someone. Yep, I'm having one of those mother moments as we see these two drivers battle it out as they go through. We're going to jump up with John Bowling as this develops here. The grid is not separating themselves; they're just getting tighter here as we see John Bowling. He is all over the back end of Pio with Chrysler York, Louis, McNeil, and Brian Douglas, Roku, and they are all battling it out to try to move themselves up the grid as we are only 54 minutes into this race as they are working their way through. As we see, it looks like Howell is slow in the back. Bowling covers the inside. Looks like to be a little bit of move under braking against York there. That could be a questionable one that we'd have to take a look at, but who knows. As we see Bowling working his way around Chrysler, York in that yellow McLaren still trying to work his way through. York is such an amazing driver. Awesome person if you guys ever get to join the league and you get to talk to him. Truly, truly a nice guy here. As Louis takes a look on the inside on York and sends it in. York covers the door. McNeil out in the back area, definitely trying to see what he can do to capitalize. As we see Aiden Hasbrock still 1.2 seconds ahead of Farmer here in this race as they go through. Bowling covering up the inside. Now that everything is separated between York and Louis is now getting attacked by McNeil in the other BMW with Brian Douglas all over the back end of them as well as they work their way through the grid. So we're definitely seeing this massive battle between P10, 11, 12, 13, and 14 shape out here in this race, but that's not also including what's in front of them, ladies and gentlemen. The P7, 8, 9 are also in a massive battle as we start to see York taking a look on the inside as everybody is starting to work their way in and cycle as well. Now we see Wilson Fernandez got past Tim Wilkins. Ooh, McNeil definitely covering the inside. Ooh, this battle behind them is truly developing between the drivers here. Brian Douglas looked on the inside. McNeil covered it over with Casey Bennett. Definitely trying to defend everything that he possibly had as we see Roku in that Lambo looking super strong here. Definitely found his edge here in this race in that Lambo. Louis going super wide. Looks like McNeil is the only one that can keep that corner solid in there with Louis and Douglas possibly catching a little bit of the dirt and losing it here, ladies and gentlemen. Ooh, McNeil sends it on the inside of Louis trying to make it stick. Is he going to send it in, or is Louis going to cover the door? Louis does not cover the door. Side by side they go down the front straight. Here comes Brian Douglas. Is Brian Douglas going to get a massive tow from the BMW? It looks not to be a tow that he needs here, but McNeil sends it on the inside. Is Brian Douglas going to capitalize on the rear end of this? He's going to switch back. He looks on the inside. Louis covers. Oh, Louis now. McNeil gets a long run. Louis catches the dirt, closes the door just a bit, but gives an adequate amount of space as they work their way through onto the front straight. Side by side they go. Brian Douglas definitely getting the reel in. Oh, he brings it in. He doesn't want the door shut. A little bit of side door tapper. Down into turn one. Here they go. Side by side. Brian Douglas getting a beautiful run. McNeil goes wide. McNeil gets the better run. Brian Douglas looks to the outside. Now Roku now takes the look on the inside. Roku breaks out of it. Side by side they go. Brian Douglas is still going to cover the inside, but Louis is going to take it and catch it on him. Oh, looks like York is off the track, possibly. Looks like we have a McLaren off of there. Hopefully that's not Chrysler York as the grid order works their way through. Nope, it is not. York is... Oh, actually, I think it was York. Oh, it was York. What a shame. What a shame for York there. As this battle continues to develop between McNeil, Louis Douglas, and Roku. I am losing my voice, ladies and gentlemen, tonight. But that's fine. As we get going through here in this race, looks like Aiden Hasbrock has still been able to separate himself from Farmer to about 1.5 seconds. Arduin now sets the fastest lap. He's 2.1 seconds, working his way up. Now Louis is on the attack in this midfield grid as they go through down into the fast right-hander. Side by side they go. Looks like Brian Douglas got the run that he needs. He goes for an outer short shoot here down into the turn. Louis sends it deep on the late braking. McNeil now has to cover the inside. Louis is going to try the switchback, but he doesn't. He's going to have to check up on the brake, but there is Brian Douglas all over the back of him as they work their way through. What an amazing battle these drivers have. Here comes Brian Douglas working his way. We're going to have to jump up here and take a look at some of the faster races. But right now, this is the closest battle with Louis sending it down on the inside, trying to make something stick here with McNeil. Now here comes Brian Douglas side by side. This is where the pit strategy is going to have to play out because the pit window is open. Who's going to try to pit early to fix the damages? Who's going to try to stretch it out here in this race? Brian Douglas is known. P.O. dives into the pits. He's going for the early pit strategy. Try to break himself up, get him some fresh air in hopes that he can push These drivers are pushing, ladies and gentlemen. Louis catching a lot of the grass in the dirt there into turn 1 as they work their way through here. Up to Maggots and Beckett's they go. Side by side, they are looking super strong. Both drivers, they are all starting to kind of calmed out. Wilson Fernandez dives into the pits. Tim Wilkins stays out. Kimball stays out. Everybody else stays out as they work their way through here. Wow, what an amazing match that these guys are having. The battle is fierce, and it is definitely regaining. We're going to take a look at Josh Kimball and Tim Wilkins. Is this battle developing? It is not. They seem to be reeling each other in a little bit, about 1.1 seconds, as he's starting to catch Chrysler York on the back end of Ricky Scott. But we're going to slide aboard up to this top battle fight here for P4, as Matt Artem is now trying to chase up Mathis Tuda here as they work their way through here into the fast right. And Casey Bennett's in the background there trying to figure something out. Ooh, as Mathis Tuda takes that wide angle attack on the apex there to try to pull away here. But it doesn't look like, as Pio gets a 30-second stop go. Oh, what a shame there for him in this race. As we start to see everything as they develop here, doesn't look like anything is. Ooh, Matt Artem super late on the brakes, definitely getting it to coast, as we see Asmi in front of them. So Asmi as a back marker, he's going to have to try to work, these drivers are going to try to have to work their way through around Asmi as they work their way onto the main straight. Looks like Asmi's going to give them the space adequately that they're going to need to work their way through the grid, and it does. These drivers are beautifully working their way through. Asmi's going to give Casey Bennett the space most likely as they're going to work their way through, but we're going to jump back down into this battle here between Louis. Louis gets passed by Brian Douglas, so that's going to be an interesting one, but McNeil is still there. Louis checking up the brakes. Now we're going to get Ricky Scott and Roku. Oh, there's a little bit of a tap. Roku loses it. Ricky Scott. Oh, looks like there's a bit of a cluster. Ooh, as both drivers now are trying to pull off the line and not get on the line for the drivers. Now here comes Tim Wilkins. They're going to have to try to figure something out to work their way through the grid, as now we see Josh Kimball. He's going to be all over the back end of Ballard, the new driver in the BMW, and it looks like, is that Tim Wilkins? It's Tim Wilkins. Looks like he lost it going into Maggots and Beckett. Definitely an interesting one, to say the least. I did not see that one coming, as we see Eric Howell and Fernandez both pitting, trying to recover their race as much as possible here in this race. So let's take a look at Josh Kimball. He is definitely trying to reel in Ballard here. Looks like Kimball has a little bit of damage on that ARC Apollo Mercedes-Benz as they work their way through the grid. Let's take a look. Who do we have that's closest battle? We got Andre Afonso and Stefan Buckley as this starts to develop and grow. Right now, Aiden Hasbrock, your leader of the race, and Farmer are lapping at the same times. So it does not look like they're going to be really moving around a whole lot, with Farmer now 1.1 seconds off the pace of Aiden Hasbrock. But the question is can Farmer keep that Honda going the whole entire race? Ooh, as the Aston Martin of Bez BRL Phantom joins up. What's up? What is happening, Mr. Phantom? As welcome to the league, to the stream. Definitely different, interesting for you to watch it than you actually racing it. Definitely huge, massive battles throughout the whole entire race, as we see Andre Afonso trying to make something happen. Arduin dives into the pits. Very interesting with Arduin, a big leader in this series, who put the car provisionally on pole, dives into the pits as they work their way through the grid. Stefan Buckley losing it out. Looks like we have a red. Is that Casey Bennett possibly? That's, oh, he lost it a little bit, or was there a bit of a tap between the drivers? That's definitely going to be an interesting one, but we see Stefan Buckley. Now Casey Bennett sitting there P6, so now Casey Bennett's going to have to try to figure something out here in this race. Now we're going to jump back down with Josh Kimball. He's going to have Ballard right behind him. Tim Wilkins has these guys for the P14, 15, 16, and 17 freight training. Ricky Scott's in the pits. Arduin is now serving his pit. So the question is how many people are going to try the early pit strategy, because there hasn't been a whole lot of big incidents. Some people got off track, I will admit to that. But it's not horrible to the point where, you know, it is horrendous. You know what I mean? This is definitely, something where the drivers are going to have to, take a look at. Do you dive into the pits early, sacrifice the 45-minute long stint, but you get put on fresh tires, fresh area, to where you can just hot lap and not have to worry? That's definitely going to be an interesting one, to say the least. As now we see Josh Kimball still trying to work his way through Roku to hopefully get a top 10. Ballard looking to cover against Tim Wilkins in the back area, the new driver. He is working his way through. Now Arduin is out. He's 24.5 seconds off the pace of Onisto in 20th in that McLaren. So now he has 24 seconds of pure hot lapping relaxation, not having to worry about battling anybody or getting into the way of anybody. Now that's definitely going to be taking a look at. Let's give a huge shout out to Phantom, who is in the chat, probably with Tykesman as well. Huge shout out to both of you guys. Miss you guys. Hopefully you guys can get back in here and race with us. We do know Phantom is on vacation in Minnesota. As we see Ballard dive into the corner. Let's see if Tim Wilkins tries to catch up to him late on the braking. He does, but looks like Ballard tries a different line as he goes through the corner here. Now let's take a look at James Parks and Kevin Tarrant and Daniel Anisto. The battle that's all the way in the back that's going to cycle them a little bit further up. James Parks sitting 19th. Anisto sitting 20th, and Kevin Tarrant's 18th. As we see James Parks definitely improving in that McLaren as they work their way around the bend. Here they go through Maggots and Beckett's as they have Cooper Simmons in that Aston Martin. Cooper told me his big thing this race is not to get a stop and go and or get disqualified in the pits for going too fast. So we're definitely going to have to keep it. Ooh, James Parks switching up his line, but here comes Onisto in that McLaren. He's going to get a run on the McLaren as well. Can he make a move? James covers the outside. Now he's going to switch back on the inside. As they go through here. Ooh, he's going to look. Oh, James has to catch up on the brakes. Onisto's going to try to take the long way around the corner. He's going to have to check up on the brakes here. Now we're going to slide back up into this grid battle that we've got going on here between Brian Douglas and Chrysler Yort. Louis has Yort all over the back end of him, and McNeil has the back end of Brian Douglas all over the back end of, where did McNeil go? Oh, there he is. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. And we have Tykesman doing his normal conversations with BRL Phantom. As we see Chrysler, Yort, and Louis battling it out. Yort's going to look on the inside. It's not going to stick, so he's going to back out of it as they work their way through the grid order here. Definitely an interesting one as they work their way around down into the hairpin and they work around their main straight. Ooh, can Yort get a run? Louis looking super fast in that BMW. Here they go through into turn one. Looks like Louis caught a little bit more curbing than he wanted to. But the question is, can Maggots and Beckett's be the sacrifice to Louis here? And it looks like McNeil lost it. He fell back down a little bit. Ooh, where's Brian Douglas? Brian Douglas right down behind McNeil. Ooh, looks like something must have happened there when we were taking a look at the other races in the series. Tim Wilkins dives into the pits. Looks like the early pit strategy of hoping separating themselves is developing here. As we now see Farmer for the lead of the race. We're 3/10 up. We're going to jump in front of here and watch this. So let's definitely keep an eye on this one right now. With the Honda trying to chase down the McLaren. Looks like Hasselbrock closes the door. Farmer's going to try to make his way around the bend in that Honda. Here they go on the short shoot. Ooh, all over the back end. Farmer definitely trying to get a drag off the McLaren. Looks like a little bit of a bump draft there. A little bit of a tap of the rear bumper there. Farmer's going to send it super deep. Aiden Hasbrock's going to get the switchback. Farmer overshot himself into the corner. And that's going to give Aiden Hasbrock the lead of the race again as this develops. Farmer definitely pushing the limits of his braking point and definitely overshot that one massively. So now he's going to have to recover his thoughts and try to refigure something out here in this race, as we still only have 40 minutes left to play, everybody. Only 40 minutes. The question is with the way Farmer's driving, can his tires keep up with this for the lead of the race? Because even though he does have to pit, he also has to think of long-term strategy here. Because if he overcooks his tires or burns them up by over braking down into a corner, I mean, you're pretty much toast. You're going to have to either pit early or deal with really, really bad tires. So that's definitely going to be an interesting one as they work their way down the straight up to this right-hander as they work their way through. Let's take a look. We have Casey Bennett 2/10 off the pace of Stephon Buckley. Ooh, we're going to see how this develops first, and then we're going to jump down and take a look at that battle for P6, the Audi and the Porsche driver. As Louis dives into the pits, the P11 driver. So that's going to be an interesting one. Farmer gets a better run out of the hole. He's going to send it on the inside. Aiden gives him the space. Side by side they go. Aiden's going to try to cut the nose off of Farmer, make him work for it through the fast right-hander. Farmer's looking to make something stick, but he catches a little bit of dirt. Is he going to send it on the deep side? Does not. Ooh, this is really developing, but Aiden's going to cover the door. Farmer's going to have to check up on the brakes. That's the one thing. You want to try to make that move on the inside of that corner, but with where Aiden's putting the car, Farmer's has to hit the brakes even harder. Either they come down the straight chute. Aiden closes the door, gives enough adequate space. Farmer's going to try it again. He's going to send it down on the inside. He overshoots it just a little bit, but gets the position there. But now Aiden Hasbrock's going to try to rework the move up here. Now he's going to push the pressure on Farmer. There's a lot of difference between someone putting pressure and someone not putting pressure. So let's see what Aiden Hasbrock can do against Farmer here in this race. Can Aiden put the amount of pressure that Farmer did on him here in this race and cause Farmer to make a little bit of a mistake as they work their way onto the grid here? Here they go through down into Maggots and Beckett's. That McLaren is looking super stable of Aiden Hasbrock. Ooh, Farmer uses all that curb right there. Now, can Aiden Hasbrock, ooh, a little bit of step on that McLaren. Let's see what we got. We got 3/10, P2 to P1, working their way through. 7 minutes left until the half of the race. Ooh, Aiden definitely taking a wider line than Farmer there as they come through down into the chicane. Here they go through. Looks like Aiden Hasbrock probably cooked his tires in that battle against Farmer because he's dropped it down to about 4/10, or his different pit strategy is playing out. But we're going to jump down to Casey Bennett here in a second. Take a look at this battle here as this develops here for P6, as Casey Bennett, with the damage on his car, is going to try to make something stick with the Audi. Ooh, catching a lot of that curb. But he's going to get the beautiful run on the Ukrainian Audi. Here they go through. Tim Wilkins right in behind them. Here they go through. Casey Bennett looking super strong in that Porsche with all that downforce. He was telling me based on the setup here, he's going to send it up on the inside, fakes it, goes outside, hopefully sets Buckley up. Around the bend, Buckley's going to cover, but Casey's going to get a beautiful run with that rear-wheel drive Porsche. Nice acceleration as they work their way onto the main straight. Well, one of the straights, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straights. Casey Bennett super late trail braking in the Porsche. The Audi covers the inside as they work their way through here. As Aiden Hasbrock dives into the pit. So he's going to be one of the earlier front runners other than Arduin. Ooh. Casey did not expect Buckley to dive into the pit so soon. Looks like the strategy is, if you're battling, dive into the pits as soon as you can. And now the battle between Ballard and Josh Kimball looks like it's developing here. Looks like Ballard is trying to put the pressure on Josh Kimball in that Mercedes-Benz as they work their way through onto the back straight up to the final couple corners here. Ooh, Ballard going super late. Definitely a late braking as we start to see some of the drivers and the way they're cycling through here. And now we're starting to reach that point into the race where drivers are trying to find something. They're trying to get into that equal little, like, I'm trying to figure out the right word. Relaxation point. Because the last 15 minutes is just going to be the apocalypse. It's just everybody's gonna be battling everybody. As we see Josh Kimball now all over the back of Aiden Hasbrock, trying to work his way through because Aiden's already taken his pit. with Josh, and then Josh Kimball still has yet to. So hopefully Josh Kimball can link up with Aiden Hasbrock and work his way through the grid here and not separate himself from Ballard. Looking super strong. Now, the question is when is everybody else going to pit? I already know Brian Douglas is going to go for like the world's longest pit stop here at Silverstone because that's what his strategy is always the overcut. A lot of people are pushing for the undercut. Our doing is up to P16, but Aiden is P11 now. So it's definitely going to be an interesting one to say the least. Farmer has separated himself from Matt Artem to 10.1 seconds here in this race. Let's take a second. Let's look at Matt. Where's Arduin in this race? Alex Arduin. He is past Kevin Tarrant, so that's going to slot him up to P15 as he's working his way through the grid order here because Kevin Tarrant is right there in the Lexus in the screen. Looks like the 199 of Onisto looks to be super slow there. A very big shocker there as he lets Stefan Buckley through. As McNeil now dives into the pits in the BMW, as now everything's starting to slow down. So I'd just like to give a huge shout out to all the viewers that are watching, as well as, you know, the drivers that are participating and have stuck it out through this whole entire race as Roku also dives into the pits. If there's a driver that you'd like to see, please let me know. We'll put them up on the screen for you and definitely showcase that for all of you guys as the drivers are working their way through. In the grid now, the question is we have 9 and 11 diving into the pits. Don't really have a whole lot of oh, Josh Kimball is all over the back end of Roku. So we're going to jump up with this one, and I don't see... Interesting. The timing board is a little bit slow on the movement of people here, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for that. Go through it. Let's see, who do we have? It's close battles. Looks like Farmer's tires are possibly losing it because Artem managed to cut out about 8/10 off his pace. Alex Arduin is back all over the back end of Cooper Simmons, and he manages to get past Cooper Simmons as we switch the camera over. As Wilson Fernandez all over the back end of Ricky Scott. Wilson Fernandez trying to recover as much as he can in this race. Hopefully he can get a P15. Definitely going to be an interesting one, to say the least, to see what the stewards are going to say. If there is an incident, or if there was a almost tapped the back end. Oh, that was a pucker-up moment. As Mathis Tuda dives into the pits, the P4 driver. The question is, who else in suit is going to dive in? Is it going to be Casey Bennett? Is it going to be Bowling? Is it going to be Young Douglas? Is it going to be Yorn? Are they going to dive into the pits? As we see Wilson Fernandez down on the inside of Ricky Scott. Ricky Scott's going to cover the outside. Fernandez slightly squeezes him just a little bit. All fair in love and war. As they go down on the inside, Ricky Scott knows that he can't check up. He can't cover the inside there, so he's going to have to let Wilson through and hopefully catch up and ride along board with them as these drivers work their way through, as we see the leader of Farmer right in front of them. So this is going to be an interesting one as Wilson Fernandez now rushing to try to catch the leader, try to utilize him as a pace matrix to kind of set fast laps. Now we're going to take a look. Where is McNeil? As we see McNeil and Louis. The battle rages on and continues. McNeil all over then the back end of Louis. They're going to have the leader right behind them, but this battle is developing. Is McNeil going to send it on the inside? He does. Louis is going to give it to him, hoping that he overshoots it. Kind of does. Louis now is going to try the switch back. Here goes McNeil taking a wider line. Louis is going to cover the inside. We see Kimball, Ballard, and Cooper Simmons all dive into the pits. Both 11, 12, 15. Onisto dives in the pit. P17 dives in the pits. Looks like the leader, Farmer, he's diving into the pits as well. He definitely didn't want to get caught up in the battle in front of him with 29 minutes and 57 seconds left to play in this race. So we're definitely going to see how this all plays out. And around the bends, here they go, side by side. Oh, McNeil covers it so much better. there with, and now the question is, can Louis take the fight? Oh, there's a little bit of a snap wiggle out of that BMW. That's definitely going to be an interesting one to say the least. As Aiden Hasbrock, Alex Arduin, they're moving their stuff up. Alex Arduin still holding the fastest lap of the race in P9. He's going to have Mathis 2 to 3.7 seconds behind him. So he's been able to help himself. I think with being such a faster driver, a lot of guys know it's not really for a competition for them, so they're going to let them through. As we see Matt Artem dive into the pits, Chrysler York dives into the pits, Farmer's still in the pits. Now the question is, did the undercut work for a lot of these drivers? That is the big question. Because some of these drivers definitely... Ooh, Artem gets a 30-second stop go. Oh, what a shame. What a shame for Artem. That's definitely going to hurt him, as we see Andre Afonso leading the race right now with Jay Bowling. Looks like Casey Bennett hasn't pitted, and Brian Douglas not pitted. As well as James Parks and Kevin Tron. Oh, sorry, I apologize that James Parks dives in the pits. Louis' back end getting a little squirrely going into that hairpin section at the final lap of the final corner of this lap here. As they go through, Chrysler York gets a 30-second stop go. Oh, what a shame there for him. Chrysler York was having a beautiful race against Brian Douglas, Louis, and McNeil as they work their way through into turn one. Louis' back end breaks out. Can Louis hold it? That's the question. He is definitely losing the back end more than what he really wants here in this race. He's definitely going to have to try to figure something out as they go through. Louis just pushing this car, and it doesn't help that he's got Wilson Fernandez, this triple BMW squad, coming down this long back straight up to this fast right-hander. With these two guys battling out, they're just going to allow Wilson Fernandez to work his way up the grid as Louis tries the outside. McNeil covers the inside. Louis now going to try to switch back. Now here comes Wilson. Louis back end steps. Wilson reacts. He covers it. Louis going to let him through. Now Louis can capitalize on this if Wilson Fernandez puts a massive amount of pressure on McNeil. Then McNeil makes a mistake. Louis can capitalize. Let's see what they can do. Bowling is in the pits. Same with Casey Bennett. P2, P3 provisionally are in the pits. Here goes Wilson Fernandez, covers the inside. Louis catches the dirt. Wilson looks up on the inside, doesn't. Covers the door. Louis has to brake a little bit earlier, catches a little bit of the curb. Side by side, opens the door. Louis knows he's going to close it a little bit, but he sticks his nose in, hoping that it'll open. Here they go around through onto this back chute before they go up to the last three corners of the track. Here they come through. Wilson Fernandez making moves. He takes a look. He checks out. Takes a look. McNeil covers. Wilson now trying to figure something out. Louis sends it on the inside. Wilson leaves the door open. Side by side they go through onto the main straight. Louis leaves enough space. Onto the main straight they go as they drag race. Wilson's going to try to close the door a little bit to give him a better run into turn one. Here they go side by side. He checks up right behind him. Down into turn one they go. Into Maggots and Beckets with Tykesman saying, I'm off to bed. We'll watch the rest tomorrow's when I'm not so tired. Good night, Tykes. I wish you the best on the other side of the world in the UK. Go Pack Go that are playing in London. I know because you're a Bears fan and you should really convert. And here goes Wilson getting a run on McNeil, trying it on the inside on this back chute as they work their way through. Wilson definitely going to try to squeeze it down into the turn here. Oh, and he makes it stick. Now here comes Louis. Is Louis going to capitalize? No, McNeil covers. McNeil now making the move on Wilson Fernandez here. But Ricky Scott in the background as Louis backs up. McNeil, catches the brakes a little bit more than what he needs to. York serves his penalty. Artem serves his penalty. That's going to drop him down to 16 and 18. Respectfully, Brian Douglas officially in the pits. Kevin Tron still has to, and Alex Afonso still has to. Aiden Hasbrock now 6.15 seconds ahead of Farmer here. We're going to see if that delta adjusts. So the undercut works here in this race. as we see McNeil trying to do everything he possibly can to catch Wilson Fernandez. They're going to have car 24 in front of them, which is Eric Howell. So this is going to be a 4 BMW fun squad here as they go around the track with Ricky Scott in that McLaren here. So it's definitely going to be an interesting one to see where everybody starts to come out here. So the question is did Brian Douglas pit stop pay off for him in the pits? Well, let's take a look. Number 42. Where are you out on track? Ooh, Eric Howell just pulls off the track there. It looks like Brian Douglas. Oh, there he is. He's going to be behind this group. So he lost it out a little bit as Afonso now dives in the pits. Farmer's now cut the lead down to 5.8 as they get going here. Pio all over them the back end of Tim Wilkins here. We're going to jump down there very shortly. It looks like McNeil does not have the pace to take the battle to Wilson Fernandez as Arduin slots himself P4. He's only 6.5 off the pace of Farmer. So he's managed to able to recover his race. So huge shout out to Arduin as we see Bruno Pio now, which we drop back down the grid order of the 21st spot. As Pio works his way up to Tim Wilkins here. Oh, Tykes, man, you know you're going to be a Packer fan. All you need is me to visit you in London and give you a gift. As we see Pio now going to try the inside of Tim Wilkins. Hopefully he can make this stick down into the fast right. Tim Wilkins lets it through, and there goes the McLaren around the bend. They go. As we're going to jump up to Renato Raku here, who is trying to hunt down Josh Kimball in that P16 spot. The Lambo driver now finally having a nice, successful race here at GTMR. He's had a little bit of troubles trying to set something up for himself to string in a few good laps. So hopefully we can see him bring home a W for himself in that points finishing position. He's only 2 points away right there. So let's take a look. Let's see. We'll do the rundown, the order of the group here. So let's see. We have Aiden Hasbrock, P1, 5.6 seconds off the pace, trying to separate himself from Farmer here in that Honda, who's definitely trying to push as hard as he possibly can. Alex Arduin, P3 in that Aston Martin with Mathis Tuda, P4. Andre Afonso coming out P5. What an amazing job there being able to set those laps. Kevin Tarrant, not pitted, P6. He's going to have Stefan Buckley all over the back end of him, but this is also going to have Casey Bennett. 6th, 7th, and 8th is battling it out as they go through into the fast rider. Casey Bennett has to check up so he doesn't catch the dirt. He's going to look on the inside. Buckley's going to slide over a little bit. Down on the inside, Buckley goes. Kevin Tarrant is going to leave the door open. Down on the inside, Kevin Tarrant tries to close the door, but now you're going to see Casey Bennett. He's going to try to get the run, but that Lexus is going to get a beautiful pull on Casey Bennett. Into the dirt, Casey Bennett goes. Kevin Tarrant backs out, knows that he's kind of closed the door a little bit, but hey, that's racing. Now Kevin Tarrant is going to try the inside. He does. He's going to allow Casey Bennett through. Now the question is how much did that hold Casey Bennett back against the battle with Stefan Buckley? With 20 minutes left to play, everything is now starting to develop in this race. We're actually going to be jumping back down to Louis here in this battle here very shortly. As we get going here, let's take a look. Doesn't look like there's really going to be. We're going to monitor this one as it develops here. But right now, the battle between McNeil, Louis, and Ricky Scott as Kevin Tarrant dives into the pits. Louis taking a look as Ember joins into the pits. Farmer is sitting P2, 4.9 seconds off the pace of our race leader right now of Aiden Hasbrock, trying to bring something in here in this overall for the race here at Silverstone. As the two BMW drivers of McNeil and Louis starting to develop. Louis going super wide there before they enter into maggots and backheads. Now we see Ricky Scott, he's about a second off the pace with Brian Douglas reeling in these two drivers. So hopefully Brian Douglas can kind of cut out some of that gap and bring it in a little bit closer here at Silverstone. As we see the drivers develop, let's take a look. Let's see any closer battles we have. Right now we do not. As Kevin Tron's still working his way down the grid. Looks like he's going to come out P15, which would put him on the tail end of the points. But right now this battle between P10, P11, and P12 is definitely growing, because if someone makes a mistake or this pack gets checked up in this race, that's going to allow Brian Douglas in, and that's going to give a 4-driver battle with the track warming up when it's only got about 18 minutes left to go, and it's already rose 2 degrees Celsius. Louis definitely wanting to make something stick. He's got Ricky Scott all over the back end of him in that McLaren here of Knox Racing. So we'll definitely have to see what the Blue Blur Racing McLaren that's in that background can do if he catches up to these guys. He's already cut 2 tenths out of their gap, and he was the later pit stop, so he's going to have the fresher set of tires coming into this race. Oh, as we see Louis and McNeil. McNeil having a beautiful race here so far. As the 88 of Wilson Fernandez has separated themselves. Artem in the 414 Audi, which is behind Brian Douglas in P14, is now starting to catch up to them as they work their way through. As we see Josh Kimball and Roku now developing. Oh, Matt Artem loses it a little bit. We're going to jump back down there real quick. Oh, Matt Artem looks like he lost something. Looks like the back end possibly may have stepped out on him. But that he's going to fall back down, and Roku and Josh Kimball are going to slot forward and give him the space. So now we're going to follow along Louis. We're going to give a little bit of a dashboard ride along with these two drivers, just to give you guys an idea of what they're seeing as they're racing. Oh, McNeil loses it. As we see Louis losing just a little bit. Now here comes Ricky Scott. Ricky Scott trying to make a move on him. He definitely regained the gap. And when I was telling you about these drivers, if this pack checks up, these drivers are definitely going to have to try to make something happen and stick here. Because now this is going to bring Ricky Scott in. Brian Douglas now cuts it down to an entire second. He's on the outside looking in. Ricky Scott trying to make something happen. Louis covers the inside. McNeil going for the longer line. So right now, this battle is definitely developing as these guys are trying to figure out what they're going to do on the lines and how they're going to keep themselves together here as they race. So this is definitely something, oh man, this is for a top 10 spot. The outside looking in. Brian Douglas now 5 tenths off the pace of Ricky Scott. He is turning up the heat. He's closing the gap. Everybody going super wide. Ricky Scott down on the inside of Louis. Here they go through. He's going to close the door. Douglas now looking. Louis having to check out. Oh my God, here we go. McNeil catches the dirt. You can see the spray up. Here goes Brian Douglas. Brian Douglas loses the back end. Did Brian Douglas spin a little bit? Ricky Scott on the outside. Brian Douglas did lose it a little bit. Now Ricky Scott's going to leapfrog the two drivers side by side. Down they go. Oh, this is going to be an amazing battle as we see. Now Brian Douglas can still recover even though he had to catch up on the brakes there and lost a little bit. Now McNeil is on the attack on Louis. He's going to take a look on the inside. Louis having to cover everything. Ricky Scott now is going to have to try to push the pressure. He's been having the pace to keep up with these two guys closing the gap. The question is can Ricky Scott push it far enough to separate himself to get moving along, as we must have missed it where Farmer passed Aiden Hasbrock. But this battle here is developing super strong as the two drivers are working their way through. Now McNeil taking the battle here. Here we go. Let's see what can happen here as Ricky Scott getting beautiful runs out of the corners here in that McLaren as they work their way through. McNeil sends it up on the inside, forcing Louis to take an awkward line, trying to set him up a little bit as they go through onto this little straight short shoot before the last couple corners. We're going to have to keep an eye on the rest of the grid to see what develops. Right now we have Ballard, Parks, and Pio. We're going to be jumping down there real shortly here in a second. We're going to do that down to the grid. Doesn't look like there's Parks. Where's Pio? Pio now all over the back end of Ballard. Ballard covering the inside. Pio having to try to work his way around the McLaren driver. Put himself P5 here in this race, trying to recover. Here they go onto the short shoot up to the final three corners. What's he going to do? He's getting a beautiful draft. Takes a look on the inside. Ballard, is he going to close the door? Pio sends it. The door is left open. Pio keeps his car there. Adequate amount of space. Gets it to stick. Ballard has to concede the position. James Parks now could take the battle back to Ballard. Ballard goes a little bit wide. James Parks gets a run on him onto the main straight. Here they go. Ooh, Ballard catching a little bit of the curbing as they work their way through down the track. As they go through, Alex Arduin 3/10 off the pace of Aiden Hatzbrock. We're going to be jumping over as James Parks goes super wide. Here we go. Ooh, something must have happened to Hatzbrock with damage because now Alex Arduin is past him. He's going to slot himself into P2. Oh, yep. Aiden Hatzbrock's front end of his car looks damaged. It looks horrible. As we go through, we're going to slot back the order here and take a look at this fight that we saw originally developing between Louis and McNeil. McNeil definitely sending it in that fast right-hand corner as he is definitely trying to reel in the other driver here as they go through. Onisto all over the back end of Cooper Simmons as they work their way through into the final couple corners. That McLaren driver going super deep on the brakes, but the Aston Martin's been able to cover him, make sure he doesn't get through. Here they go through this race. It looks real nice that they've been able to separate themselves. And now Ricky Scott has separated themselves from Louis and McNeil. Let's take a look at this. Just a little bit, like probably about 4 or 5 cars worth that McNeil has been able to separate himself from Louis. As they go through up to Maggots and Beckett's, they go. This right here is one of the closest battles we have on the race. But now Louis trying to turn up the pressure onto Ricky Scott to catch him for the. Oh, Louis catches the back end. McNeil. Oh, what a save of the day by Louis. Oh, catching just a little bit of that curb in the grass in the back end step. And huge shout out to Louis there in this race as we go through. Matt Artem now all over the back end of Josh Kimball. We're going to jump along board with that one here in a second as they go through Maggots and Beckett's. Matt Artem in the Audi trying to take the fight to the Mercedes onto the little short shoot straightaway here before they reach the fast right-hand turn. See what they can do. Side by side they go. Josh Kimball's going to cover the inside. Artem makes it stick with the braking in the Audi. Josh Kimball getting a beautiful run to keep up with them as they work their way through. Artem gets past Josh Kimball and manages to pull away a little bit as they go through. Now the closest battle again is this Louis and McNeil battle as this starts to develop. But right now it seems like Louis has been able to separate himself from McNeil. So that's definitely good for him here in this race. Definitely wants a little bit of separation. Let's take a look as Farmer works his way through. He's past the 513 car of James Parks as he works his way through. Andre Afonso all over the back end of Mathis Tuda here, about 8/10 off the pace with this Aston Martin versus Ferrari duo for the top higher spot at the top 5. What can Andre Afonso do? Ooh, Andre Afonso sending it deep, working his way around the bend. Ooh, Mathis Tuda having to check up in that corner. Ooh, Mathis Tuda looks on the inside. Andre Afonso checks out, goes to the outside round. Ooh, Mathis Tuda covers the braking beautifully into that corner. Here they work their way through onto the main straight. Oh, we've got McNeil now all over the back end of Louis. We're going to have to wait it out to see what happens because this is a battle for P4. Ooh. Both drivers seem very equally paced. Doesn't look like anybody's getting really a run on anybody here in this race. Brian Douglas now down to 2.1 seconds off the pace of McNeil in that P13 spot. Ooh, side by side they go. Fonzo trying to make it stick. Doesn't get the run that he wants, so he's going to try to switch back on the outside. Tuda covers. Ooh, Fonzo sending it deep side by side. Tuda closes the door pinch. Fonzo had to lightly check the brakes. Jump down again to see. McNeil still 0.3 off the pace of Louis. Louis definitely probably sweating. Now here comes Brian Douglas. He's down to 1.1. Louis probably overcooked his tires in this race. Now Brian Douglas's fresh tires are now starting to come up. The temperature is starting to drop. This is definitely going to be in Brian Douglas's wheelhouse. But the question is can he make it stick as these drivers work their way through? And does Aiden Hathbrock have enough damage to where it's going to be him being able to manage to push to keep that P3 spot in Silverstone to rebound here in this race. As we see McNeil now trying to look on the back end of Louis as they work their way through. Now McNeil now getting attacked by Brian Douglas as they go through. Question is can McNeil hold this off? He's going to cover the inside a little bit, but Brian Douglas, can he get a better run out of the corner with the McLaren? He does. He gets a beautiful run out of the corner with the McLaren. Nose to tail, here they go. Freight training down the straight. He's looking inside. McNeil covers. Brian Douglas is going to try it. Down into the corner he goes. McNeil leaves the door open. Brian Douglas covers the brakes. Oh, what a beautiful run. McNeil now on the inside. Douglas on the outside. Are they going to try to switch back? Douglas is going to commit himself on the outside, but he's going to run out of space. He's going to have to accelerate out of the hole to get a better run. Onto the front straight they go. He's looking. He's going to try to fake him out, send it down on the inside, get his run. Oh, the back end breaks out on Douglas. Oh, he manages to save the power slide. Ooh, that's a tough one right there for Brian Douglas. He's going to have to regroup and regain himself as they go through. Now we're going to jump back down to McNeil. McNeil, he's about 1.1 seconds off the pace, so we're going to keep an eye on him as they go. But Chrysler Yor is all over the back end of Ballard after that 30-second stop-go. He's going to have to try to recover himself in this race with 5 minutes left to play. Ballard, the new driver in the league, in the BMW, trying to hold off one of the more veteran drivers in the league. Ballard is going to let him by. Interesting, that was 4th place. as they work their way through here. York now crosses the line. P19, 7.7 seconds off the pace of James Parks. The question is, how much is that going to... Ooh, Andre Afonso. We're going to jump back up aboard with Andre Afonso and Mathis Tuda. They were 5/10. Now, did Andre Afonso regain enough to take the battle towards him? Let's see what's going on. It doesn't look like it. Oh, Tuda's actually behind him. Interesting. Something must have happened. So it looks like Andre Afonso. Oh, we got a car off the track. That is going to be Ballard. Ballard's off the track there. It looks like he was just trying to move out of the way from the leaders in this race. As they go through, as we see Arduin now 7.1 seconds off the pace of Farmer. Aiden Hasbrock now 15.5 seconds off the pace. He is losing the front end grip. Now here comes Afonso in that P4 spot. He could actually leapfrog and get a podium off of this. And we see McNeil and Brian Douglas. This battle is just developing like no other. They have brought themselves back in. Ooh, Andre Afonso losing the back end of it a little bit, having to recover as much. So let's take a drop back down here. Now McNeil and Louis. This battle has been raging this whole entire race. And Brian Douglas is just in the back there. I believe he possibly cooked his whole entire brakes to smithereens, because he is just not braking the way he usually brakes here in these races. So let's definitely have to keep an eye on that one, as McNeil now tries the inside, a shallow line. Louis is going to close the door a little bit. McNeil's going to check up right behind him. Here they go through. Oh, McNeil's definitely not he really wants to get past Louis here for that P11 spot as he gets a beautiful run on him. Let's see what they can do. You can see Louis didn't go as far over to the left as McNeil. McNeil had to check up on that throttle before he lost the back end of it. Now here comes Brian Douglas. Brian Douglas now taking the pressure to McNeil. Oh, this is going to set Brian Douglas up perfectly if he can make it stick. But it's going to give Louis a little bit of breathing space, because now McNeil has to go into defensive mode versus attack mode. 86 is off the track. That is Kevin Torrance. He's going to resort to the pits. What a shame there for him. He's such a wonderful driver with 1:46 seconds left to play. Brian Douglas covers the back end of the brakes. Alex Arduin now 6.2 off the pace of Farmer in this 28-lap race as these drivers work their way through. Here goes Douglas. Can Douglas make this stick? We've seen him do it before, but he pushes the back end on that car a little bit too strong. We're going to switch over the helmet cam, see what happens. I'm surprised that Brian Douglas doesn't go to second in that final corner of the Maggots and Beckett's area to get that beautiful run, as now McNeil is now utilizing his defense as a pressure mechanism to push against Louis. Now here comes Brian Douglas on the inside. The door looks like it's possibly closing. He sticks his nose in there. McNeil now having to cover over. Brian Douglas is going to switch back down on the inside. Brian Douglas sends it. Can McNeil cover? Oh, side by side they go. No door slapper, takes slippers. Brian Douglas has to watch. He checks out of it, probably not knowing where McNeil was, and had a counteractive steer on that. Oh, what a battle there, ladies and gentlemen. What a battle. What a battle. Oh. Let's take a look as we see McNeil work his way through the grid. Now, this battle has been developing for a very long time. Let's take a look at where Mathis Tuda is, but now we have Brian Douglas back all over the board of him. So we'll keep an eye on the Mathis Tuda race as we see Wilson Fernandez working his way up to the P8 spot, P9 spot. He's about 5/10 off the pace of, oh, he's actually gaining pretty fast. So we're going to jump up to Wilson Fernandez. he is definitely trying to recover everything from the start of the race to take this battle to Jay Bowling. Now here he goes. He's going to look side by side down into the beginning of Maggots. Beckett catches the brakes. The BMW's more superior on the brakes than the Aston Martin, in my opinion, as they come up to the final corner before they come up to the main straight. This is the final lap for some of these drivers as they work their way through. Wilson now, he's going to switch. Bowling definitely looking. Bowling making one move. Wilson trying to commit himself to the outside. Bowling going to have to try to make something stick. Here, Bowling closes the door. Wilson's going to try a switchback possibly. Here goes Wilson. Bowling's going to have to make one move as he's going to make. Oh, he switches, covers the inside. Wilson's going to have to make it stick. Here he goes through the chicane here. Gets a beautiful run. He accelerates out of this hole so much easier. And congratulations to Farmer on the race win with Alex Arduin P2. Looks like Aiden Hasbrock has to check out of it as Afonso's finishes is going to possibly finish P3 here in this race. But right now this battle is developing super. Looks like Wilson Fernandez is trying to make something stick. Around the outside they go. Bowling covers the inside as we see Afonso P3, 2 to P4. Aiden Hasbrock's going to probably finish P5 with Casey Bennett P6. Have to keep an eye on that as that develops here as well. Looks like Wilson Fernandez is possibly not going to be on the attack as we see Aiden Hasbrock brings himself P5. Casey Bennett, yep, looks like interesting. We'll have to keep an eye on that, ladies and gentlemen. Recru finishes P15, Park 16, York 17, Ballard 18 as we watch Wilson Fernandez get the move on Bowling. Interesting. Missed that. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. As we see Buckley 6, 7, 8, Fernandez, Bowling 8. As we work through the grid order here, I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. Some people are, the minute they cross the line, it trips out here. Looks like we'll see Ricky Scott in provisionally P9 because this will adjust itself with drivers leaving once they cross the line here. Here we go. Looks like Artem got Douglas here as they go across the line. What a shame there for Brian Douglas, but what an amazing recovery race as we start to see Josh Kimball. Where's Josh Kimball in the ARC Mercedes as he's about to cross the line. Here he goes through. And across the line, he's going to slot himself and finish off. Let's see where Kevin Torrance is. Kevin Torrance is in the pits. What a shame there. And huge congratulations to Taylor Farmer winning this race. Alex Arduin finishing P2. And Andre Afonso P3. Those are going to be your top 3 finishers here in this race. We're going to jump out real quick. We'll be right back with the drivers here in this race to get the podium finish. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. What a huge shout out for the drivers in the places where they finished. A huge shout out to Farmer bringing home the W at Silverstone. We know he was having a little bit of issues with the car in the last few races with tire deg, especially at Indianapolis. A huge shout out to him as well, as we're going to take a look at the Honda here in the stream here as well. We're going to talk to Farmer through the race. Seems like he had a little bit of a troublesome start of the race, especially in qualifying here. Looked like there was a little bit of the pace, possibly the tires. Maybe talk us through how your qualifying went and what was going on in your mindset sitting in that, I believe it's the P4 spot. Farmer, are you there? Farmer, are you there? 'Cause if not, we'll be jumping over to the P2 finisher. Alex Arduin in the Aston Martin. Looks like Farmer's possibly having a little bit of technical mic issues. So we're going to jump over to our P2 finisher and talk with him, Alex Arduin. I apologize that to Farmer, but we want to get to him when we can. It looks like he's having a little bit of mic issues talking. So P2 finisher Alex Arduin, he had a little bit of an interesting strategy here in this race. Seems like he had to pit a little early, unlike the rest of the people in the grid, but it still managed to work out. We were very surprised in the booth of whether or not the undercut or the overcut strategy worked. I guess it seemed based on where you were at in your track position. So you can talk us through your race, Alex.
Yeah, unfortunately the beginning didn't go so well. I haven't had a chance to look at the replay yet, and I don't know if I just braked too late and got an Aiden or what. Because I thought I braked a little bit early and like just to put a little bit of distance between the car and let off and then braked again, and I just could not slow up in time without hitting him. But thankfully it didn't really take him out. It was just a tap and he didn't go around. And then after that, Fernandez and I went into, I believe it's Maggots and Beckett side by side, and once again, I haven't had a chance to look at the replay. I thought I left him plenty of room. Not really sure what happened there, but, I don't know if I owe him an apology or whatnot. But yeah, I had like 7 seconds of damage after that, so the car it was still quick, but man, it was all over the place. The back end was just very unpredictable and inconsistent. Somehow managed to set fastest lap. Don't really know how, but I realized pretty quickly that I needed to pit and take care of that damage, even though I knew it was going to be heavy fuel load and a long time on the tires. But it's just that's how it goes sometimes, and I just focused on trying to put together as many clean laps as possible, and it turned out okay. And then with about 15 minutes to go, I could just tell the tires were just gone. So I was just ready to just ride it out as best I could, and then I saw something must have happened with Aiden. I don't know if he got collected with another car as he was coming through the pack or whatnot, but he must have had a lot of damage, because even though he was on track ahead of me, I mean, he was losing seconds left and right, so I'm assuming he just probably had a lot of damage. But P2 at the end of it, a lot of damage control, thankfully. Still walk away with the point for fastest lap, it looks like. So, it could have been a lot worse after the first couple laps and 7 seconds of damage. So I'll go ahead and take what I got from that.
Oh, what an amazing race that you were able to pull off there in this race. I mean, truly, truly amazing. We're gonna take a look. Looks like we have a few issues here. Let's take a look at this. Okay, I got that fixed possibly, and we can
Farmer
see.
says he's muted. I think he's got to switch it over to push to talk. I'll let him know.
Yeah. Nope. All right. I think it's good. Farmer, do you hear us? Can you talk, Farmer? But I mean, it was definitely an interesting race. What was your overall like? We had the damage, of course. It all depends on what happens with the stewards' reports. What are your overall expectations? Do you think it's going to go into the end of the season, considering the fact that you're whatchamacallit, can't think today because I can't talk. What do you think your overall expectations for the remainder of the season? Because you kind of started coming in strong, finished third, second, a win, and now you're finished second. Hello, Farmer. We'll get to you in a second.
Understood.
I mean, just trying my best to collect as many points in all the remaining rounds and just, see where it works out. Each race is its own race. Just seems like I got decent momentum going, and, just, if wins are on the table, great. Otherwise collect, as many podiums as possible, and just try and get as many points per race as possible.
Well, hey, That's definitely going to be an interesting one, especially with next week's toughest track on the calendar. In my opinion, is Olton Park, a track where passing is almost nearly impossible, and the track itself, in my opinion, beats up the cars in the games. But we're going to be switching over to our P1 finisher, Mr.
Yeah,
Farmer here, who managed to bring the car home P1 in Aston Martin, which looked to be a little bit of a rocky start here based on qualifying, where you looked strong in practice, but it didn't seem like you could really put a solid couple laps in qualifying to put you at the top by Alex. So talk us through how your qualifying session went.
uh, the, hey everyone, and yeah, great race by everyone. The qualifying was good, but I noticed I was way off what I was achieving offline in practice in similar conditions, and jumping into the server every now and then. So I don't really know what to blame or what the excuse is, but I just probably wasn't carrying enough exit speed in a couple corners,
Hmm.
and I was driving the McLaren last night, and I think maybe I confused myself by kind of adapting to the McLaren and going back, but it was
I can
not long.
I can honestly see that. That happens to me all the time.
Yes, but it was great. But I was going to get pole, but I ran into someone on their own lap,
Hmm.
and instead of forcing the issue, I just backed out, and I think me and the person that I got held up by, and it was fine. There's no problems. I think we were both trying to get in that one last lap,
Hmm.
and it just didn't work out for me. I was up 2 tenths in the first sector, then it was going to be maybe 4 tenths, and that was going to be enough for pole. But I thought it was okay because I honestly did not want to lead this race. I just didn't want to with the talent. At the front, like Hasselbrock, Fernandez, Arduin, I don't want to lead those guys at all. And Alfonso and Tuda and basically everybody, because even I was following a lot of the people that were maybe in 10th and lower or something, and they were driving fine, and like I could barely pass some people or catch up to them. But yeah, and the race was incredible. Incredible race with Hasselbrock. It was unbelievable. It was really satisfying. I really appreciate his clean driving,
Hmm.
and yeah, I don't know if it's on the stream, but there was a massive touch between Fernandez and Arduin, and I kind of used the Jedi trick and kind of knew Arduin was going to come. I tapped the brake, and then I kind of inherited two places. Hasselbrock and I had a fantastic battle. We both got held up by two people, but it
Hmm.
was fair. And then I think what happened to him, he was kind of being held up by someone. They weren't moving over maybe as quick as they could. And I think he kind of lost the rhythm. And then when he was
Oh,
trying to pick it up out of the last corner, he just looped it, and I felt really bad. I was gonna wait for him, but I saw that he was just there was no recovering from that.
mhm.
But in fact he did. So I can't wait to watch the GTMR replay, and everyone else should, I can't wait to see the action and how everyone else did.
No, the battles across the whole entire board, I'd have to say, at the start of the race, we had a few little off track stuff, but mostly the grid kept flying, and it was an amazing battle through the mid pack and towards the end pack, as well as the front of the pack. Sadly, I have to get going, which means we're gonna have to end this short. So huge shout out to also our P3 finisher, Andre Afonso, who
Yeah,
managed to
great.
reel himself in. I do believe the last time he was on the podium, believe he is in Portugal, if I'm correct. So huge shout out to him all the way across the other side of the world. Definitely bringing in some massive points for him because I know that's going to help him boost up into the grid order as well. So we will be definitely seeing you guys next week at Olton Park. My name is Axia. Huge shout out to all the drivers that joined us. You can always check us out at Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Or if you'd like to join, check us out on SimGrid as well as Grid Finder. You'll find us on both of there. You guys have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you guys later.